You're listening to Mad Radio. Mad Radio. Mad Radio. Make a difference.
Quick, me lads! Hoist the rigging! Aye, Captain! Splice the mainframe! Batten down the hatches! Aye, Captain! I'm going below deck to get the show started. And now, the man who likes to sound important even when no one is listening. He's the shortest leprechaun in the kingdom, and he's earned his AA in jackassery. No, really, you should see his diploma. It's the host with the most, Brendan McCarty.
Well, thank you, Petey. Hey, welcome in, all you scallywags, you swashbucklers, landlubbers, horns, swogglers, and salty dogs to the Peg Leg Podcast, a show where we delve into the lives of fellow pirates and learn a bit more about the unsung heroes among us all. Arr! This week we travel to the President's office in order to speak with an individual who has her Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration from Stan State. She worked at the Stanislaus County Superior Court for a decade and served the Honorable Thomas Zeff in the courtroom for over 2 years. She has also worked for 5 college presidents at MJC in 7 years. That's crazy. That's quite a turnover. My goodness. On a personal note, she has a husband named Barry and a son that she is raising named Ozzy. She loves hiking and the great outdoors. She is a master at jump roping. We're going to ask about that. She has seen her favorite band, Deftones, 15 times. She has watched Breaking Bad in its entirety at least 20 times. Wow. She has met Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul. And on Bryan Cranston's cell phone, there are selfies of him and her. That is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the executive assistant in the President's office to the poop deck. It is Sabrina Miranda.
Hi, Brandon.
Hi. Man, that's so awesome. I finally got you on the show.
I know you've tried for a while.
I have. Jeez. Well, okay, so let's get right into this thing. What brought you to the college? What were you doing beforehand? And then you just kind of decided, this is where I want to be.
Before I worked at MJC, I worked at Stanislaus County Superior Court, like you mentioned.
Okay.
For about 10 years before I was at MJC. I started as a legal clerk at the courthouse.
Interesting.
And, yeah. I was in different areas of law when I was a legal clerk. And I wanted to be a courtroom clerk. That was my goal when I started. And I eventually did promote to courtroom clerk. So the last 4+ years that I was at the courthouse, I was a legal clerk, and I was eventually assigned to Thomas Zeff, which was a criminal courtroom. And I really actually loved being in the courtroom. I loved working at the courthouse. I'm really interested in true crime, so I especially love being in a criminal courtroom.
I'm sure that it was probably difficult, though, to hear all of the things that were coming through, said courtroom.
It is, or it was.
Right.
I did jury trials, many jury trials. You're hearing some of the worst things and seeing some of the worst things in your community. You're marking evidence, you're marking weapons, you're listening to children testify about abuse they've been through. And these are all your community members. They are not people that are far away. They're not people that are just on the news. These are people that could be your neighbor.
Wow.
So it's very impactful. It's very taxing emotionally.
Sure.
And
so you did that for how long then?
In the courtroom, I was there for, I think it was a little over 4 years.
Okay.
And the time previous to that, I was a legal clerk in different areas of law. So I was in like family law, self-help, criminal, small claims.
Right.
And I also did those different areas when I was a courtroom clerk. I floated around. They call it a floater, where you're just kind of going into different departments where you're needed. and then you can get an assignment, and my assignment ended up being a criminal courtroom.
Okay, well, if I get arrested, I'm going to call you for some legal advice then. You have at least some information that you could pass along.
I'm happy to do that, honestly. I really do enjoy law. And that's just more on a personal level. I studied business in college, but then I just, in a personal way, I enjoy law in general.
Are you one of these people who listens to podcasts about the criminal minds or whatever? Or
they're not all made equal, and I prefer only one. Television-wise, I've always been extremely into Forensic Files. I've watched every episode of Forensic Files more than once.
Ooh, okay.
My absolute favorite show.
Did you grow up watching America's Most Wanted or anything like that?
I love America's Most Wanted.
It's coming back.
For some reason,
yes.
I thought it already did, and it didn't
maybe.
do as well.
Well, he brought his son in now, and they're going to do this whole thing or whatever.
What?
Yeah. Yes. I just saw it recently, yes.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's still wanted people out there.
You're talking. Why am I blanking on his name?
Walsh.
You said his son, because I know his son was murdered, and that was part of
maybe
why
it's his
he
other
was,
son then.
I
suppose. Yeah, you're right. That's exactly why he got into it. Yeah. No,
yeah.
Absolutely. Right.
Very cool. I did like that, but my go-to was Forensic Files. Still is. I still watch Forensic Files all the time. Episodes I've seen before. It's just fascinating.
Ooh, okay.
But podcast-wise, the only podcast I listen to, because I actually find a lot of them really obnoxious, and I get that group of people that I fall into that like true crime, we can be annoying, because I do hear that argument that people make. I hear it. I hear that you're interested in it's misery. I mean, people are going through the worst.
Sure.
time. So to say you're interested in it is very odd, right?
Well,
but
maybe
also,
it's just the small minute pieces, right? How the person got caught, or
it's the psychology of it.
Sure. Okay.
Right. And I guess that's really what draws me to it. I mean, I'm not the only one. You see, there's Netflix special. I mean, it's a very, very
big time.
The psychology of it is very fascinating. Podcast wise, I only listen to Sword and Scale. It's my absolute favorite. This is an extremely well done podcast.
Okay.
I
have to check that out.
I still watch Forensic Files. Still listen to Sword and Scale. Did enjoy my time in the courtroom, but it's very emotionally taxing, and I wanted to do something in a similar way where I was assisting executive level type work, because in the courtroom, as a courtroom clerk, you're assisting the judge, so you're assisting in the preparation and execution of daily court calendars all the way through jury trial.
Sure.
So I was in a multitude of jury trials. And while I did really enjoy that, it just takes its toll on you. And I was very young when I was promoted to a courtroom clerk, and there weren't a lot of promotional opportunities at the courthouse. Really, it was just being a supervisor, which I did not want to do. I wanted to be in the courtroom. I mean, I had no interest in being a lawyer or anything like that. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I didn't want to be a judge. I liked the role that I was in, but I just didn't see myself doing that for the rest of my working career. So I wanted to do something in a similar way, but that would be positive instead of negative, or sad or depressing or exhausting. So I started looking at opportunities at MJC. I had my parents learned English from MJC. I had friends that went to MJC. I knew some people that worked at MJC in a roundabout way. Like, I had friends that said, my sister or my best friend or somebody works there. I didn't know anybody directly.
You heard a lot of good things about the college.
Hear a lot of good things.
Okay.
So I saw that as an opportunity to do some good work in a similar way, and I started looking at opportunities, and I applied, and I got the position that I'm in now, the executive assistant to the president.
Boom. That's how it happened.
That's how it happened.
Nice. Nice. Let's talk about your childhood for a minute. What was that like? Where did you grow up?
I was born in Modesto, and I lived here with my family. So my mom, my dad, and my sister. I have one older sister. We lived here until I was about 7, and then my parents purchased a house in Waterford. So I grew up mostly in Waterford.
Okay.
Yeah, and I went to Riverbank High School because at the time that I was growing up in Waterford, they did not have a high school. They built it. It was ready to be attended my senior year, and I didn't want to move over to Waterford because I already had my friends established and everything. So I stayed in Riverbank.
Were there many things to do in Waterford? I've been out there several times, and I can tell you that I got in a lot of trouble out there because there really wasn't much to do. But
yeah, there isn't.
No.
You have to really like being outdoors, I think, especially then, which I...
Right, yeah. Well, there was tons of orchards and stuff, and I had a buddy that I grew up with. We rode quads out there, and
sounds fun.
You know, we were at the bait barn all the time, and Ted's Video, because that was the only thing that was in town. Was it IGA? Maybe they had IGA. Right, that was there, and we would always get pizza before we came into town in Empire.
Pizza
right?
Plus or
yes.
Mountain Mike's? Okay.
Pizza Plus, yeah,
okay.
That place right there, right.
That's a great... Oh, that's still like my favorite pizza is Pizza Plus.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Great pizza. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really do any of those things that you just said. I didn't visit any of those spots. It was just being outside with my friends, playing sports.
Okay.
Hide and seek, you know, just outdoorsy things is what I was always doing. I was very big on jumping rope. That was one of my favorite things. I am very good at jumping rope.
Did you...
I'm still good at it.
Are we talking like you're an award-winning jump roper, or
no? But I was on a team in school where you had to try out.
Okay.
And you could be on an advanced traveling team, and so when I tried out, I made the advanced traveling team right away, and I did that for maybe 5 years, I think, until I did it until I aged out. You aged out by 7th grade. You couldn't be in it anymore, and I did it up until then, and really great workout, really fun. I know lots of cool tricks. I'm really great at jumping rope. Whatever that's worth, I'm really great at it.
I may have to you're going to have to probably demonstrate or something. I don't know any tricks, except maybe like backwards or double Dutch or I don't
there's
know
so
anything.
many tricks. Yeah, I'll have to show you. It's so fun.
Oh my gosh. All right, so then that was you aged out of that. Was there anything in high school that you did that was sports wise or clubs or anything? Or
I was in leadership, and the only sports I played was golf and tennis, and I did that just to get out of PE. While I love being active and athletic, I don't like the formality of showing up every day and doing XYZ along with everybody else.
Right.
I like being in a sport better. So anyway, I did tennis and golf, and I was really bad at both of those. I was terrible at both of those. I had a lot of fun playing. No good at it, though. But I did that. I played some sports. I was in leadership. I was the senior class activities director, so I did some cool stuff, fun stuff in that way. But I got really into music when I started high school. So I became really interested in music about starting in junior high, but then come high school... I just...
Were you making mixtapes on the maybe
my God, yeah.
recording like the stuff on the radio? And,
yes, I had a cassette in there ready at all times. Like, there's that song, or, and I would make all kinds of stuff like that. But I got really, really into music, like obsessively into music. I got really obsessed with Deftones. I know I've seen them more times than I even know, because that's just a general number, 15 times about when I know I've seen them. But between having actual physical tickets and now they're all digital, I don't know how many times I've seen them. But I got really into music. Deftones was my favorite band. That was just kind of the scene I got into. And it's funny, when you get older, you still kind of end up liking the music that's nostalgic and hit you in that way when you were younger. You
know what? I feel bad even saying this, but I'm going to go see Creed. I'm not kidding.
No.
I'm going to go see Creed.
They're still a thing?
They came back. They came back.
They're all coming back, Limp Bizkit's back.
It's a money grab, right? It's a nostalgia thing. So yeah, I'm going to go see Creed and later on this year. So I know it's horrible.
Who's opening for them? I don't know.
There's a couple of bands that are going to be opening.
Anybody that I would know? Anybody?
I'll have to take a look at the
I'm curious.
Thing, but yeah.
My husband and I were just looking at who Limp Bizkit's touring with, because I was like, man, I stopped listening to Limp Bizkit after that chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavored water. I think that was the album came out. But I was, I mean, like one of your questions on here is your 3 songs that got to be on your playlist.
Right.
When I brainstormed that, there was a part of me that almost said Faith by Limp Bizkit because that's just that song. I just have some good memories of that song, and I don't know, I just still live in that new metal phase.
Right.
I'm still listening to Korn all the time, Deftones, Nine Inch Nails. I mean, those are all still my favorite bands.
Well,
even when they put out music that's not good, they're still my favorite.
And then you look at Limp Bizkit today, and it's like you can't even recognize Fred Durst or whatever. It's
because he kind of puts on like a whole gimmick now. He's like the
guess.
grandpa. I don't know. I follow him and Wes Borland on Instagram, and I mean they've always been kind of gimmicky. They didn't start out like that though.
It just hits different. I know it hits differently today. We'll get into the music stuff a little bit later.
Yeah. But anyway, my childhood, I got really into music. I was always outdoors, really into music. I'm a first-generation American.
Oh, okay.
My parents are both from the island of Terceira, from the Azores. So there's 9 Azores islands off the coast of Portugal. My parents are from Terceira. They were born and raised there. They came here as teenagers separately. They didn't know each other when they lived on that island, which is wild because you can drive around that whole island in an hour. And really it only takes that long because the roads are windy.
That's crazy.
You could probably in less time. But they came here. I didn't know English until I was about 5 years old. I didn't know English until right before I started school. My dad learned English from MJC, but my mom was taking ESL classes as well. She brought that home, and we learned from her in Sesame Street. We learned English from those 2 sources, my sister and I. So by the time I started school, I did know English, but first generation American.
You would never know.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, second language, right? But now I don't speak it very well. My parents are teaching my son how to speak Portuguese. That's really important to me. I want him to know because once I learned English, my parents really didn't keep up the Portuguese. They wanted us to be as Americanized as possible.
Right.
So that's a little sore spot for me because almost my entire family lives in the Azores still. So not all of them speak English, so I can't speak to all of them. And when my grandma was alive, she didn't speak English, and she lived here. She lived in Patterson. I couldn't speak to her very much. And so it's just really important to me that my son learns Portuguese. And he does. Like, you can ask him things in Portuguese, and he responds. And so my parents are teaching him that, and that's really important, and I'm glad that he's learning because we want to take him sometime and to the Azores and speak to my cousins and everything. And
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
What are some of your leisurely activities outside of work?
My favorite things are being outdoors. I love hiking.
Okay.
My husband and I love to kayak too.
Any particular place that you go to?
I won't give away all my places that I like because there's some special spots that are not very trafficked, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Okay, yeah, that's
for
fine.
When we do finally go back. Because this last year and a half since Ozzy's been born and when I was pregnant, we really haven't been outdoors a whole lot, hiking and kayaking and doing those things. And I definitely want to raise Ozzy to be outdoors like that. One of my favorite spots that I'll give away is Morgan Territory in Livermore. That's one of my absolute favorite.
What's so great about that place?
You know, I really like fields, that kind of like open, meadowy kind of, and that it has some difficult hiking. It depends what trail you go on when you're there at Morgan Territory. There's a few different ways. There's a lot of trees, so it's very shady and cool in some spots, but then you can get in some spots where you're just exposed to extreme winds and the sun, and so it has a little bit of everything, and I love it. There's like this really beautiful marsh area where there's all kinds of frogs and beautiful little creatures there, and it's nice to just stop and kind of listen. And it's not a very trafficked spot. Every time we've gone in the past, it's pretty quiet. I've gone there even by myself because the drive up to the trail is really beautiful. There's some beautiful homes. You can see a lot of wild turkey and peacocks and different wildlife that's fun to check out even just on the drive up there. But not very trafficked. I've gone there by myself before and been the only one going around. So, yeah, that's just one of my favorite places. We'd like to go over there, and then after we would hike, we would go to First Street Ale House in Livermore and have some drinks. And
yes.
Yeah, that's a cool. Have you been there?
I have been.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
I very much enjoy. Well, I enjoy any place I go that has beer. So
yeah, and they have really great beer there.
Yes.
Good beer choices.
Any where do you go for kayaking? Where do you find? You don't have to give it up. That's fine. But
I really like Tamales Bay.
Okay.
That's one of our favorite spots, just all around. But some really beautiful kayaking that you can do over there.
Have you been up to all the way up Highway 4? You have Spicer, but then you go higher and you have Utica, which is that's all that's allowed at that location is kayaking. There are no motors, and then they have Union, which is even higher than that.
I don't know any of those.
I'll tell you about it, offline or whatever.
Please do. I need some new spots.
Oh, it's a beautiful spot. Beautiful.
Oh, I can't wait to go back in that game and get back into doing that.
Yeah, sweet stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I just being outdoors makes me really happy. So I love hiking and kayaking. Haven't done that in a little while. I hope to get back into that. Concerts is one of my favorite things. I am in my happy place when I'm at a concert. For sure.
Are we talking? Well, we kind of went over a little bit of the music that you've been to before. Are you down in the mosh pit? Are you are you getting your?
Definitely spent a lot of time in the mosh pits. Younger years. I'm older now. I like to sit in a seat or stand. Although I will tell you, I mean, I've seen Deftones many times, right?
Sure.
One of the last times my husband and I saw Deftones, it was just wild because two things. It was the first time I saw Deftones and of course they were the headliner, right? I don't even remember who the opening acts were. The crowd there was much younger, and they were all wearing T-shirts for the opening bands. A lot of the people there weren't there to see Deftones, and that was one of the wildest experiences for me. That paired with, we were about like second row, standing, general admission.
Right.
And we're about that close, right? And normally, the times I've seen Deftones and I'm there in the general admission area, I mean, I've been to a Deftones show and I left thinking I broke a rib and I had to go to the doctor because it's brutal. And then that time that we saw them, that was the last time I saw them, I don't remember when this was, a few years ago. We were standing in the front and it was so comfortable. You're just standing, everybody's being very chill, everybody's being very respectful. I was not used to that. It was a great experience, but it was just so wildly different than what I've been used to. So maybe some shows I would still like to be in the front like I used to be, but I'm used to being in the front and feeling like
maybe it's the ticket price. Maybe these young rowdy kids can't pay those prices.
That's a good point. Yeah, because I remember seeing Deftones for $10.
Right.
And now, actually, they came around a few years ago, and my husband and I passed on it because it would have been over $1,000 for 2 tickets.
There you go.
To go from $10 to. Things are just so different now. And with the way that, people just buy out all the tickets and then they resell, it's just a weird market now. They need to
regulate that somehow.
Some regulation on there for sure.
Right.
But yeah, concerts, definitely my happy place. Huge stand-up comedy fan. I love comedy. Many years I've been going to comedy shows. Still absolutely love it.
What are your top 3 comedians?
Ooh, top 3.
If you had to choose.
Without a doubt, number 1 is Louis C.K.
Okay. All right.
Oh my God. I saw him a few years ago at the Bob Hope Theater in Stockton, and it's one of the best nights of my life. It's up there. Oh God, that's tough. Chris Rock is definitely in there.
All right.
Bill Burr would probably be. I feel like
I did get. I understand because I did get to see him a couple of years ago.
Me too. I've seen him a few times.
Yeah.
He's hilarious, but not without going off on a tangent. I feel like he's kind of oversaturating himself in things. Now I turned on something and he was a voice in like a children's movie. And that's fine. I love that for him. I want him to be as successful as possible, but I feel like there's just this tinge of what made him special that's kind of gone a little
I think that
bit.
happens
Maybe
over
that's just
time
me.
with most people. Is like, you're the outsider, and then everyone loves the outsider. You become the insider, and then you do your thing. You get the money that you need, and then you split town, I guess, potentially.
And some people, I guess, maybe do that better than others. I still love Bill Burr all the same. I just put him in my top 3.
No,
but
no,
I
he's
just
very,
feel,
very, very. He's a very smart comic.
Yes, he is.
And I love that particular that back and forth kind of. Yeah.
And he's still funny. I mean, my husband and I saw him in Vegas maybe 2 years ago, or more than 2 years ago, because it was before I was pregnant. But we were laughing. We were in tears. So he's still hilarious. But yeah, top 3: Louis C.K., Chris Rock, Bill Burr.
Perfect. All right. What is your favorite trait about yourself?
I hate this question. I hate this question.
You're not the only one.
I don't. Yeah.
I know it's hard to talk about ourselves, but if
it just sounds so like my favorite trait is I'm this. I like that I'm motivational. I like being a cheerleader for other people.
Okay.
I like. I have friends that will call me just to be lifted up, and I enjoy doing that. Let me point out your best traits. Let me remind you of all that you're capable of doing. Let me lift you up. I like doing that for people, and I mean it when I do it. And I think maybe that's why I like it. I like pointing out people's strengths and having them feel empowered and motivated by that. So I do like that I'm motivational.
All right, I'm going to put you on speed dial then.
Let me lift you up.
I need that.
But there's, just like any trait, there's bad traits that come along with it. So there's parts of that are dangerous too, right?
Right.
Yeah, but that'd be my favorite trait.
Okay, all right, perfect. What gets you out of bed in the morning?
My son, Ozzy. It's just, he makes me excited about life. I love thinking about life through his eyes. I'm obsessed with that kid. I love that kid so much. He's everything. I adore him. So yeah, he's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
All right, okay.
Literally too, because
Literally
like, oh god,
too.
there he goes. He's ready to go. It's 5.
Are you? So then once you get out of bed, are you someone who goes straight to the coffee, or are you a tea person? What do you enjoy? Your morning routine, I guess.
I do love tea too, but I'm a big coffee snob.
Okay.
I absolutely love coffee, and I'm a buy your beans whole, grind them yourself, use a French press or a Chemex kind of girl, and we like to buy beans from, I think, is the best coffee spot between here and I don't know how far it can go. Preservation on J Street in Modesto.
Okay, so locally.
Oh my gosh, not only do they have incredible beans that they sell, they make great coffee. I suggest getting the BFH if you go there. I prefer my coffee black. I don't like cream or sugar, but the BFH definitely has sugar in it, and I still love it. It's a fantastic drink. You could get anything there and it'd be great. That's just my personal favorite.
Is there a particular roast or bean that you like that they produce there?
We like the Kuma brand. I might be saying that wrong. Kuma.
Okay.
I don't remember where the origins of that bean is from.
What is it? Is it a darker roast? What is it that
I believe it's a medium. I don't care for darker roasts. Those tend to be over roasted to me.
Okay.
And so I kind of steer clear of it. I guess it depends on who's making it. But yeah, I love coffee. When I was pregnant, I didn't have it just out of abundance of caution. I know that's very discretionary. Some people drink it, whatever. But that's when I realized how much I really loved coffee, because it was really hard to live without it. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite things. One of my absolute favorite things is drinking coffee. When my husband and I travel, we chase food a lot. So we chase coffee, we chase food, chase craft beer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's talk about food. What is a meal that you could eat over and over again and not get tired of?
There's a few. But I'm going to go with Portuguese bread and Portuguese cheese because I've grown up with it. It pairs really well with coffee.
Really?
Yes. I mean, that's how the Portuguese people have it. We have espresso, coffee, bread, cheese, you know. The bread is really mild, so I think it pairs well with the coffee for that reason. The cheese, kind of spicy, kind of pungent, but just the right level of it to pair with the mildness of the bread and then with the coffee. So it's something, it may not sound like a meal, but I've made it a meal many times.
But you're saying that all those three things together really just kind of...
Yes.
Okay. All
Cheese,
right.
bread, coffee, cup of coffee.
Huh.
Those three things. So when we've gone to the Azores, it's something like every morning, bread, cheese, coffee.
I'm going to have to
Staple.
try this thing, I guess.
I'm going to have to bring you one. I should bring you.
Do you actually make it yourself?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't make it. But there's a good Portuguese bakery in Turlock. They sell the bread and the cheese there. And so one of these days, I'll bring you one.
Okay. All right. I
For
can't
sure.
wait. Yeah. And I'll have my coffee
You like
ready,
cheese?
too. Yes, I love cheese.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah.
Everything. From brie to the creamy what's the stuff that has the blue cheese and goat cheese and I mean I've spent so much time at Camp 4 I won't even get into it, but I love everything that's out there. Maybe not the jalapeno stuff. That
okay.
Sometimes that gets a
little too risky, huh?
Yeah.
A little too experimental.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. Who has been the most influential person in your life?
I know this isn't one person, this is two people, but my parents. I would say my parents are the most influential people in my life.
Okay.
They've lived a very different life than I have. My parents, when they were growing up in the Azores, at that time, they didn't have running water, they didn't have electricity, they didn't own shoes. My dad started working when he was like 7 years old. They only have about 4 years of school that they did at that time over there. I mean, 4 years, not just, I'm not talking college or high school, like
right.
4 years in its entirety. That's it, you know. They've lived a very different life. They've sacrificed so much for me and my sister, and I just adore them. They're incredible people, and they are the most influential people in my life, by far.
Excellent. Excellent. Where is some place that you would like to visit, and why?
This was a hard question. I wasn't sure, because there's a lot of places I'd like to visit. So when it comes to the Azores, I have been there a few times, only to the island that my parents are from, but there's 9 islands in total, and I would really like to explore some of the other ones. In particular, I want to visit San Miguel. I believe that's the largest island there, and they have all the islands are technically the same. They have a lot of the same things to offer. I mean, it's an island, so you're
Sure.
surrounded by ocean. It's volcanic, so it's a different.
And the culture is, for the most part, it's the same across the board.
Yeah, even
Okay.
village to village, there's differences within an island. But of course, yeah, I mean, generically, yeah, the same.
Okay.
But San Miguel has, maybe because it's the larger one, there's just more. There's more places to eat. There's more things to do. There's really cool things like crater lakes and hot springs in particular. So I see it as a good opportunity for some really beautiful hiking.
Oh, yeah.
And some outdoor kind of things like that all the islands have to offer. No, they do, but I think they have a little bit more of a special thing with the hot springs and the crater lakes, a little bit more so. And I'd really like to visit it for that reason. I'd like to visit quite a few of those islands, but in particular, that one's kind of calling my name. So in the future, when we go, we're talking about island hopping next time, and so maybe we'll visit that one.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, so this is a difficult question.
For me?
Well, yeah, for you and several others. I hate to even dwell so much, but I changed the question, and I think so far I've mentioned this to each guest. I'm going to allow you to choose however way you want to answer this thing. So the question used to be, if you only had 3 albums to listen to for the rest of your life, what would they be and why? You can answer that one, or you can answer name 3 songs that are a must-have on your playlist.
Okay, I told you how much music means to me.
Yes.
am kind of driven by music a lot of times. Can I have more than 3 songs?
Are you
It's-
really?
You know what? I have listened to your podcast episodes, and
Yes.
I feel like
well,
for the most part,
then I have one listener.
I do. I'm not
That's right.
fully caught up. 'Cause
Oh,
you've
okay.
got quite a bit going on.
No, well, you know.
Not everyone is a music fan, and some people don't. That question is kind of, it's difficult for them in the sense of they couldn't really tell you. They start just kind of picking maybe something that they've been drawn to a little bit more. Or something.
Sure. So how many are you asking for?
Gosh.
I'm not. No.
I haven't said a
No.
number yet, dude.
Well,
4 or 5, maybe. How about 4? At least. Well, how about 5? Let's just do 5.
all right. We'll see.
Okay, I know that you ask why. How about I give the reason why for 3, and I'll just drop the other 2. It's Brandon. It's really hard. You're telling me 3 songs I gotta have.
If this is gonna if the other 2 round out your musical, whatever, then sure, that's fine. Yeah, we'll do that. You can explain the 3, and then I will allow the 2 extra. Then we'll do that. That's fine.
Okay.
So, number 1.
Number 1, I gotta go with Deftones because they're my favorite band. And it's really hard to choose one song from them because when I tell you, I mean, they're my favorite band for a reason. I had a very serious obsession with them growing up. When I like something, I end up going in really hard. You said I watched Breaking Bad how many times?
Several.
That's just the way my brain
Goodness
goes.
gracious.
Yeah, when I like it, I go in, all in. And I really love Deftones. They have such great music that to me, it would have to be like a top 20 Deftones songs. That's how many songs they have that are just incredible to me. So it's really hard to pin it down to one. You asked why in your question about what the favorite song is or why it's your favorite song. I'm going to pick Deftones' Be Quiet and Drive because, and it's not even a song that I'll play, like if I'm playing Deftones songs today, I probably wouldn't even play this song.
Okay.
But because it's from the album that I very first heard from Deftones, and it's my favorite song from that album, I'm going to pick it. So, Be Quiet and Drive. It's a really beautiful song. The first song I ever heard from Deftones was My Own Summer, and it was my very first day of my high school career. Okay, so access to music was really different back then, right? 'Cause I'm going to talk about that. But
okay, yeah.
when they played that song, My Own Summer, unless you were hearing the song on the radio and the DJ said the name, and Deftones weren't on the radio, you didn't know. So at the time that I heard that song, I was asking people, or I was asking around, like, hey, who was that band?
Right.
Did you hear that song?
We didn't have phones. We didn't have access to all of the information today.
Totally different. You had, if you were interested in music, you had to work for it.
Absolutely.
To find out your favorite artists or check out albums or whatever. I had to do quite a bit of little homework to find out who Deftones were. So I ended up getting a hold of that album, and that song is just really chill and nostalgic for me, and so Deftones Be Quiet and Drive is my first pick.
Perfect.
My second pick is Pantera Domination. Pantera is top 3 favorite bands of all time. I have a big obsession with Pantera. I absolutely love Pantera. Domination is from the album Cowboys from Hell, which is my favorite Pantera album. It's an incredible song. When it gets to the part where it's just this guitar solo, it is wild, and it is just incredible. That song gets me every time. I have heard that song. I don't even know how many times I've heard that song, and it gets me every single time. It gets me so pumped, whether it's on a road trip, whether it's working out, whatever it is, it gets me every time. And going off of the stories we're talking about finding out about music, Pantera is my pick because you're talking about why. So the first time I heard Pantera, I was listening to 96.7, Rock 96.7. And they played Cemetery Gates, which is off of Cowboys from Hell.
Okay.
I heard that song, I was like, oh my God, this is such a good song. I have to know who this artist is. So I'm waiting for the song to finish so that DJ will say the name of the song. And the DJ didn't say the name of the song when it was over, and I was so mad. I ended up calling the radio station, and I, imitated the way the song sounded, and the DJ knew what song I was talking about, so he told me. So that's how I learned who Pantera was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was my introduction to Pantera, but Domination is my favorite. Absolutely my favorite Pantera song. That one's easy to pick. Where it's hard for me to pick a favorite Deftones song, Pantera, as much as I love so many of their songs, that one's an easy one. Domination just stands out. My third pick is Train with No Love by Andre Nicotina. So I love music, and my husband loves music. So I probably couldn't be with somebody that didn't love music as much as I did. My favorite genres are metal and rock, but I really find it fun that my husband's favorite genre is hip-hop rap. And he blows my mind. Even the most obscure hip-hop song, he can just say every lyric. We're on a road trip, and he's just spitting out the lyrics like it's something he wrote. And he could do that with many songs.
That's me with Ice Ice Baby.
That's awesome.
That and
is that rap? Is that really?
Well, maybe not. And probably the same thing with Sir Mix-a-Lot with Big Butts. I mean, how can you not know all the lyrics to that?
That's so commercialized that you just know. Yeah, yes. Right. But I'm always impressed by he could just say every lyric. And when it comes to Andre Nicotina, that man, my husband, Barry. I think he's got an Andre Nicotina playlist that has like 30 songs on it. We could play that on. He will say every lyric and sing it like it just blows my mind. Train with No Love is my favorite Andre Nicotina song, and Andre Nicotina is the first artist we saw together in concert. So special in that way. Train with No Love is a really cool song. It's a story, so you really have to listen to the story. It's not so much the way the song sounds, it's the story. It's really moving and sad, and it has a happy ending, but it's a very unique song. So that would be my third pick, and why.
Okay.
My next two that I won't say a reason why. There's definitely stories behind them, but okay, just one more.
Well, we can do two. That's fine. You said 5. We'll do 5. That's fine.
I won't tell a story about it.
Okay.
Piggy by 9 Inch Nails, which is one of my absolute favorite bands of all time.
All right.
And it's from my favorite 9 Inch Nails album, Downward Spiral. Beautiful song. Fifth pick would be Bodies by Smashing Pumpkins. Huge Smashing Pumpkins fan. My son Ozzy's room has all of my childhood Smashing Pumpkins posters hanging in it, and they're very special to me. And
these poor kids are going to, they hear this music, and then they want to check in on the artist, and the artist is like 80 years old. And they're like, what happened? Well, it was time, son. Time happened.
Very different. Yeah, it's
Right.
so weird to think that, like, a lot of these songs that I'm picking are like 25, 30 years ago that I was on a high listening to them, just like, oh my God, this is just so incredible. And yeah, now they're older songs, right? They're like oldies classics. So
right.
Just totally different. But I'm still stuck in that. I mean, I know that I've read that that's very natural. Like, you just kind of...
Well, no, I understand. I'm stuck in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah?
For the most
just
part.
It's like the songs that made you feel good at a certain time, or that's when you fell in love with music, or whatever it may be. It just
Cyndi
sticks
Lauper,
with you.
Huey Lewis and the News. Those are, they're not my go-tos, but certainly I find
up
comfort
there
in
for
those
you.
things. Right.
Yeah, oh yeah, God, I still listen to Korn and all that. Like, it's...
Nice.
Like, it's still now. Yeah.
Sweet.
So those are my favorites.
All right. Okay. Do you have any parting words of encouragement for us?
Don't take things personally, and remember to laugh. Don't take things personally in that I think the easy thing to do is take things personally when what other people do has nothing to do with you. People do things for their own reasons, for their own selves, and like I said, I think it's easy to take it personally. I think we have to remember that it has nothing to do with you. Just remember, it has nothing to do with you. Don't take it personally. That's definitely something I've learned through the years. And don't forget to laugh. I feel like comedy has gotten me through some of the darkest times in my life. I love comedy. I've always loved comedy, but I definitely love it for that reason. I feel like comedy, I feel like it's okay to touch upon taboo
Sure.
things,
Right.
or I think that's okay in comedy, and I appreciate that about comedy. So I feel like people should laugh more and embrace a laugh more, and it's okay to laugh. So that would be my advice.
Sabrina, thank you so much for being here, being on the podcast, allowing us a window into your life. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the winds are picking up and the barnacles are collecting on the bow. Time for us to set sail, me hearties. This episode was brought to you by Portuguese Diesel. It'll get you drunk. Produced by me. Edited by Patchy the Parrot. And music by the Azores Acoustical Artists. Remember, you can always reach us day or night, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at peglegpodcast@gmail.com. And we are ready for your comments. And as always, remember to keep your booty close and your sword sharp, lest you find yourself swabbing the deck on the bottom of Davy Jones's locker. Until we meet again.